The storm had swallowed the town whole, turning every street into a sheet of ice and silence. Trees bent low, groaning under the weight of frozen branches. Power lines sagged like snapped veins, dead and dark, and even the wind seemed to moan with exhaustion. This was the kind of night people warned about. A night where the cold didn't just chill your skin, it crawled inside you, biting deep into flesh and bone. No one should have been outside. No one except a small figure pushing forward through the snow. Her name was Lily. She was only 10 years old, her red scarf snapping violently behind her like a warning flag. She had just left her grandmother's house and was heading home, holding a loaf of bread tight under her coat to keep it from freezing. Each step was harder than the last. Then she saw something that made her stop cold. A shape beside the road. A man. He lay crumpled next to a motorcycle half buried in snow, completely still. Lily's breath caught in her throat. Up close, he looked terrifying. Big and broad, with a thick beard crusted in ice. His arms were wrapped in dark tattoos, and his leather jacket carried a skull with wings, bold letters across the back reading, "Hell's Angels." The motorcycle was twisted against a tree, its headlight flickering like it was fighting to stay alive. Snow dusted his face. His lips were blue. His skin looked wrong, too pale, too quiet. Fear hit her all at once. Her mother's voice echoed in her head, sharp and clear. Never talk to strangers. Never go near biker men. For a heartbeat, Lily wanted to run, to turn back and pretend she'd never seen him. But then another thought crept in, softer, heavier. If you leave him here, he won't make it before the story continues. If you believe even one small act of kindness can change a life, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps keep stories like this alive, stories that remind us humanity still exists, even on the coldest nights. Lily knelt beside the man, her hands shaking as she touched his glove. His fingers were stiff with cold, but there it was, a faint pulse. That was all she needed. She didn't stop to think. She didn't hesitate. She hooked his arm over her narrow shoulders and pulled with everything she had. Inch by inch, step by painful step, she dragged him toward her house at the edge of the woods. The wind slapped her face raw. Tears streamed down and froze against her cheeks. Snow spilled into her boots, soaking her socks until she couldn't feel her feet anymore. Still, she kept going. Nearly 30 minutes passed before she finally hauled him across the yard and through the front door. Collapsing onto the floor beside him, her mother, Anna, gasped when she turned from the kitchen. Her daughter stood there, shaking, soaked to the bone, dragging a full-grown biker behind her. "Lily, what in God's name are you doing?" she cried. But the moment Anna saw the man's face pale, lifeless, barely breathing, her expression changed. Without another word, she turned and ran for help. Blankets instead of questions. They wrapped him tightly, piled on more logs, rubbed his frozen hands, and dialed the only doctor brave enough or stubborn enough to come in a storm. An old retired vet arrived, dragging his medical bag like it was a treasure chest, grumbling the whole way about kids today and bikers in the snow. Slowly, they learned his name was Jack Turner. He'd been riding through town when a deer darted across the icy road, sending him and his motorcycle skidding into disaster. Hours had passed before Lily found him. If she'd been even 10 minutes later, there would have been nothing left to save. For 2 days, Jack hovered between fever and frostbite, drifting in a haze where dreams and reality tangled together. And then, finally, His eyes flickered open. The first thing he saw was Lily, perched by the fire, reading softly from a children's book. Her voice was gentle, warm, a small flame against the storm raging outside. Jack croaked, his voice rough as gravel. You saved me." Lily's cheeks pinked, and she shrugged softly. "You were freezing. Mum says good people help when they can." He didn't respond right away. His eyes stayed on her, wide with something he hadn't felt in years. Gratitude. Or maybe shock that someone so small had carried so much courage. A man who had been called thug, criminal, lost cause. Never once had anyone told him he was worth saving. Over the next few days, Jack stayed as the storm raged on. Anna watched him carefully at first, unsure, but she saw him chopping firewood despite his bandaged hands, fixing the loose latch on their window without a word, always making sure Lily ate first at dinner. He spoke little of his past, only saying the road had been his home, a place to ride away from ghosts that never left. "What do you mean?" Lily asked one night, curiosity braver than the cold outside. Jack stared into the fire, silent for a long moment. "Some of us carry ghosts that never stop," he said finally, "riding with us." "Sweetie," Lily whispered, not fully understanding, but she reached out and took his hand anyway. That small touch held more than warmth. It held trust, connection, and a spark that maybe even a man like Jack could start to believe in again. Innocent, pure and fearless, Lily had touched something long buried inside him. Decades had passed since anyone had shown Jack genuine kindness, and her small act had cracked open a part of him he thought was gone forever. When the power finally sputtered back on and the roads cleared, Jack knew it was time to leave. His bike was patched enough to run, and he promised he'd return one day to thank them properly, before mounting. He unzipped his leather jacket, the one with the Hells Angels patch handed Lily a small silver ring from his finger. "Keep this," he said quietly, voice low but firm. "It's my lucky charm. You saved me, kid. I owe you more than I could ever repay." Anna felt a tug of unease as she watched him ride off, the roar of his bike fading into the cold morning. Still, a tiny seed of hope took root in her chest. Maybe, just maybe, they had done something good. Something that would ripple far beyond what they could see. 2 days passed. Then 3. Life slowly returned to its rhythm. Lily went to school. Anna worked double shifts at the diner. The snow melted, leaving only the memory of the storm. Then one morning, just as the sun spilled gold across the horizon, a low rumble echoed in the distance. At first, it sounded like distant thunder, slow and rolling, but it grew louder, shaking the windows and rattling the dishes in the cabinets. Heart racing, Anna ran outside. What she saw made her knees nearly buckle. Down the long, winding road leading to their house, motorcycles stretched as far as the eye could. See hundreds, then thousands, lined up like a moving army. The air vibrated with the synchronized roar of engines, a storm of steel and chrome. And at the front, wearing a fresh leather jacket, was Jack Turner. He parked in front of the small wooden house, boots crunching on gravel, helmet in hand. Behind him, nearly 2,000 Hells Angels had stopped, their rough faces softened by something unexpected, respect. Anna rushed to the porch, heart pounding with confusion and fear. "Jack, what is this?" Jack smiled, eyes glinting in the morning light. "You and your little girl. You showed me what mercy looks like," he said. "These men, they're my brothers. Most of them haven't felt kindness in their lives. So I told them your story. I told them the story of a little girl with a heart of gold, how she saved one of their own, when the world would have left him to die, and they wanted to say thank you. Lily peeked from behind her mother, eyes as wide as saucers. Slowly, the bikers began unloading boxes filled with food, toys, blankets, and even supplies to repair their old cabin. They brought new tires for Anna's broken-down car, fixed the leaky roof, and stocked their pantry with more food than it had ever held. One by one, the bikers knelt to shake Lily's hand, calling her Angel Lily. Some of the toughest, roughest men in America had tears in their eyes as they thanked her. A massive tattooed biker named Skull even handed her a custom leather jacket, stitched with a white feather on the back, a symbol for the pure-hearted angel who had saved one of their own. Within hours, the story reached the world. Cameras arrived. News vans lined the street. The tale of the little girl who helped a Hells Angels biker spread across the country. Strangers sent donations. Anna's diner was suddenly flooded with customers. Letters arrived from all corners of the globe, filled with gratitude, hope, and tears. But beyond the headlines and attention, something deeper had changed. Jack and his brothers stayed for 2 days, helping, laughing, and sharing meals. They built snowmen with Lily, told stories of their travels, and promised to check in every year before they left. Jack knelt beside Lily and whispered, "You saved my life, kiddo. But more than that, you reminded us what it means to be human again." When the last motorcycle roared down the road, the sunlight glimmered off the asphalt, and the engine's fading sound felt like the echo of a promise. Lily stood on the porch, clutching her silver ring, eyes sparkling with pride. She didn't realize it yet, but her small act of courage had changed thousands of lives. Jack wrote to them often afterward, sharing how many of his brothers had turned their lives around volunteering at shelters, helping veterans, all because one little girl refused to walk past a dying man in the snow. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Stories like this remind us that no act of kindness is ever too small to change the world. And before we end, here's a special request. Comment Angel Lily below if you believe compassion can heal even the coldest hearts. That winter, a miracle happened, not of wealth or fame, but of humanity. One little girl's courage thawed the frozen heart of a man, and in doing so, warmed the souls of 2,000 others. One act of kindness, one spark of love, reminding us that we're all still worth saving.